felt a great disturbance in the force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. I fear something terrible has happened.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Star Wars games used to be fun. And then this happened. For those of you unfamiliar with the franchise, Star Wars Battlefront is a first or third person shooter with vehicular combat thrown into boot, all set in the Star Wars universe. Dice EA's first attempt at this in 2015, despite being somewhat of a hollow husk of what it should have been, certainly got the look and sound right, and the same has to be said for the sequel. Player complaints from the original, such as the shortage of maps, DLC that split the player base up, a lack of single player campaign, and having no space battles on launch, have all been addressed, and with Star Wars Battlefront 2 boasting a brand new story campaign, which is canon, by the way, set between the events of Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, space battles from the get-go, and more heroes and villains from all of the Star Wars eras, plus a ton of maps, and all DLC has been promised to be free and to not split up the player base. So what's the catch, I hear you cry? Well, cry you should, because the game is built from the ground up to push microtransactions. In fact, the microtransaction store's pricing would be enough to make any Candy Crush or Clash mobile game blush. Progression is done by earning star cards, which you pull from RNG loot boxes, which of course you can grind out for free with credits, or you can skip the grind and purchase their bullshit tokens, I mean crystals. And grind is definitely the right word here, as you will need to pay 4,000 credits to open one crate. And seeing as every match lasts anywhere between 5 minutes and 15 minutes, and will only net you between 1 and 400 credits, you don't have to be a maths genius to know that is one hell of a grind. Luckily for us, the internet is full of maths geniuses, and they worked out that to unlock everything in the game would set you back a whopping 3,111 loot crates, which would require 4,528 hours of gameplay, or $2,100 if you're a whale that loves guzzling down microtransactions like a drunken whore at a bukkake party. Onwards with the game then. Graphically it's pretty great most of the time, and I found the frame rate stable except for in the cutscenes where it become jerky at times. Lighting and shadows generally look jaw-dropping, except for the odd popping texture, but I have seen plenty of other weird shit ranging from an epileptic TIE fighter to players fused into walls, just to name a few. But I will say DICE have done a really nice job at creating the look of the Star Wars universe. Just like its predecessor, Battlefront 2 also has fantastic audio. Everything from the music, to the pew-pews, to the screech of the TIE fighters. It's all on point, and I'm sad to say the audio is probably the best thing about this game. The campaign I felt at least started strong. You play Iden Versio, daughter of one of the Empire's generals and leader of Inferno Squad, the best of the best Black Ops, yakety schmackety and all that jazz. It was interesting seeing the perspective of the Empire, and although the gameplay was pretty lackluster, I was intrigued by the darker side of the Star Wars universe, and was interested in the protagonist. That is, up until about the third mission, when the game decides, nope, I'm not giving what you want, and has Iden predictably join the rebels, and wrestles the story from her hands, and takes you on a flippin' Star Wars tour where you control the iconic heroes through some of the most mundane missions I have ever played. Let me put it simply, I'm admittedly quite terrible at shooting games, and this campaign offered me no challenge at all. In fact, the AI was so dumb it just seemed to stand there and let me shoot it in the face. I would even go as far to say it felt like it was on rails. It's not all bad though, I did enjoy a lot of the set pieces and the voice actors mostly do a great job, but honestly the campaign does absolutely nothing to prepare you for the online combat, where, quite frankly, you're going to spend the first few hours getting gang raped by people who bought the deluxe edition and have 3 days worth of star cards at their disposal. So I'm going to hand over to Derp now for an overview of the online multiplayer. All yours, chap.
Nah, fuck this game, man. Fucking EA!
Derp. Well, shit. Okay then, on to the meat and gravy of the game. The online multiplayer. So the game modes on offer at the moment are Galactic Assault, which is 20 vs 20 objective-based battles, Starfighter Assault, which is 12 v 12 space battles, and there's also these 3 mini-modes that come in the form of Heroes and Villains, which is 4 v 4 iconic-only characters, Strike, which is a scaled-down version of Galactic Assault, but no vehicles, and also Blast, which is your typical Call of Duty style 10 v 10 deathmatch. If I'm being honest though, it was only the Galactic and Starfighter Assault modes that actually held my attention. Taking place in 11 instantly recognisable Star Wars locations, Galactic Assault can be fun, but also pretty tedious as well. For example, majority of the matches takes place fighting at choke points, so there's lots of pew pew die respawn action. But don't you dare start thinking tactically, as most of the time when you see an opportunity to flank to gain the advantage, you go out of bounds and get a timer telling you to get back in the firing line or get insta-killed for your troubles. Shooting mechanics are decent, and I found the game runs really well, even when the screen is full of a maelstrom of explosions and blaster fire. But by far my biggest gripe has to be the effect of the star cards. Enhancing damage or shields, not to mention recharge times on your abilities, it just feels broken. Especially when there are people that have the 3-day head start and have pumped money into crates, and they have got all these like rare cards, these greens and purples, gaining as much as 40% boosts. Pay to win or not, it just gets really old really fast, and it's frustrating because at times you see a glimmer of the game we could have had if EA had set out to make a fun game instead of trying to milk the consumer dry. That said, every now and again you get a team that works well together to take objectives, and it does feel great. As you kill more enemies and take more objectives, you will earn battle points which you can trade in to play the iconic characters like Han Solo, Yoda, Darth Maul, just to name a few. Some of these are locked behind a credits paywall though, so if you can put up with having no star cards from loot boxes for your first 10 hours, you can unlock heroes like Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader. But honestly, it just makes an already hefty grindfest, well, more of a grindfest. Also, a problem I came across with the battle points mechanic is that the iconics are hard as fucking nails, and once you have one, you will end up staying at the top of the scoreboard, getting enough points to constantly be able to have an iconic character, and you'll just end up getting the most insane amount of kills. It's just broken. Starfighter Assault is probably where I spent the bulk of my time with this game, and quite frankly, it could have been its own game. I had a blast blowing enemy ships out of the sky, and I do just love hearing the roar of the TIE fighters. Same deal as with Galactic Assault, you earn battle points to get heroics, like Slave 1, Darth Vader's TIE Interceptor, and my personal favourite, the Millennium Falcon. Starfighter Assault is definitely where the most fun in this game actually lies, but unfortunately, it's where the pay-to-win mechanic is the strongest. As if having extra damage or hull strength wasn't bad enough, having a potential 20% turn speed increase in a dogfight is just outrageous. Never in all my years as a gamer have I seen a game released with such clusterfuckery as this one. Basically, EA seem to have committed PR suicide by trying to ram insidious pay-to-win mechanics and downright predatory RNG loot crates down our throats that are totally not gambling, by the way, if you could bring yourself to swallow one little drop of the bilge that EA's PR team have been spewing forth recently. On top of that, during an AMA on Reddit, they broke a new world record for the most downvoted response to a question, and with one of the worst user scores on a Metacritic I have ever seen. 0.8 out of 10. I mean, look at that shit. This is bloody Star Wars, for fuck's sake. It should be an automatic win. You don't need to sell Star Wars. Star Wars sells itself. As if this wasn't bad enough, EA is dealing with negative mainstream press coverage, prying regulators trying to find out if they're pushing gambling habits on children, and even the Star Wars license holders Disney have had to have a word because their precious golden goose is getting trashed left, right and centre. We can't be having that right before a new movie drops, can we? So EA is in damage control mode, and 2 hours before the game went live for the general public, by this of course I mean the people who didn't fork out the 25 quid extra for the deluxe edition to get the 3-day head start on their level progression, EA has announced they are pulling the monetization temporarily while they fine-tune their business model. Make no mistakes though, all microtransactions can and will be reactivated at the flick of a switch as soon as they have finished licking their wounds, and as the game is built on gambling and pay to win, I don't see any way EA can fix this pile of Sarlacc spaff. So my final score for Star Wars Battlefront 2? 4 out of 10. We have had to create a new accolade for this one. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the unworthy turd. The arch nemesis of the Golden Wid and our official stamp of disapproval. Unworthy of your money, time, and certainly not worth your loyalty as a customer, this is a freemium game parading about in a shiny Star Wars skin, hoping you don't notice it's rotten to its very core. I'd like to take a minute just to thank all the people who called EA out on this bullshit. All of the Redditors who participated in the AMAs, and all of the movement on social media. But most importantly, I'd like to thank all the people who managed to hit EA in the one place they still have feelings. Their bank accounts, by cancelling the pre-orders and getting your refunds. Thank you for making a stand against their arrogant assumption that gamers are sheep and will buy whatever they're selling. The effects of this game's reception will send ripples across the industry, and it will send a very clear message to other publishers who are thinking of employing similar tactics in the future. Yes, I'm looking at you, Warner Brothers. Oh yeah, fuck you, EA.
We got Death Star, 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 we got Death Star.